Morning, Banky.
I was just doing some vibe coding, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you've launched your SaaS,
multi-million-dollar SaaS product.
Posting it onto LinkedIn.
I can see why they call it vibe coding. You just type in a line and then just sit back and just let it.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to GCP Bytes, episode number 16 for Friday, the 9th of May, 2025. GCP Bytes is a podcast where we discuss Google Cloud and tech. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, the Google Q1 results look great. Has Synology lost the plot? Can Chrome be split from Google? Plus, Gemini has a cool new feature. Find out in the AI Wars. But before we get to any of that, I'd like to introduce the co-host of the show, Dave Wall. How are you going, Dave?
I'm doing great, mate. Tell you what, this fortnight just snuck up on me.
It did, didn't it? It was kind of slow news week, but it snuck up, that's for sure. Yeah. And our very own GDE, Ian Brown. How are you, Ian?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good.
I'm looking at the run sheet here, and it's like, before we get to any of that, Banky did some vibe coding, and I'm like, what, we're not introducing the host anymore?
No hurries.
Stuff there.
We've been replaced.
Yeah. We've been replaced by AI.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just move that little comment. But I did do some vibe coding. And I see why they call it vibe coding, because you just say, what did I say? Well, I would like to program, I would like a Pong game in JavaScript, and then you just relax back and just watch it build it all. It literally just builds it all in front of your eyes.
Yeah. And you go, actually, let's change it. I want the framework to be React this time, yeah.
Yeah, and then if it just does it all in front of you, and if you give it the right permissions, it even goes away and creates the files, and then pops up the browser, opens the browser, and you go, oh yeah, look at that, I can play Pong now. And then I was like, well, can you put a game speed slider in the top right corner? It goes away, and bang, there you go, game speed slider in the top right corner. Oh, very nice. Simple as that.
Love it.
Yeah, I was stuffing around probably, I think it was last fortnight, doing the very similar thing. I was like, make me a little asteroids game. I was like, and then my partner, she was like, hey, can you make it 3D? I'm like, oh, let's ask it. Yeah, make it 3D. I want to go on. And yeah, sat there for a while, churned out. And she goes, can you change what the ship looks like? Could you make it like a hot dog? I'm like, well, let's try it. And then it crashed everything.
Hot dog Space Invaders.
Spaceship could not be hot dog. There was the squiggle of mustard that just killed us.
Too much hot sauce. So to achieve this, I installed Klein into VS Code, and then you need to get I did it with Gemini, and so I had a project, and it you need an API key. And all I had to do was tell Klein what project it was, and it went into the project and made the changes and gave me the API key. Simple as that. And bang, it's doing lookups. And
did you select the free model? Did you select the free model, or that project's going to cop a few? Well,
I did it through work, you know.
Sponsored and paid for by.
Well, yeah, they are a sponsor. It's encouraged, you know. We've got to learn how to use these things. So
true.
But yes, I think what Zuckerberg recently was quoted as saying by 2027, no one will actually be coding, something like that.
Well, there will still be people coding, but I think the masses won't be coding.
Mm.
You'll have very select, very intelligent coders that are coding the AI with new capabilities until the AI gets to a point where it can code itself. But
So it's not turtles all the way down?
No. And we can have our hot dog Space Invaders.
You could have,
Because, that's important.
Yeah, well, hopefully, because, Gemini... it's not a full coding model, but they did update a new version of 2.5 Pro with enhanced coding stuff, like just this week. It's like they've decided it's so kind of hyped about that they're like, we'll release this before I/O. Like I/O is very shortly coming, but let's get this out there because this thing is amazing.
Speaking of which, have we all built our I/O playlists?
I have not. No,
I have not built an I/O playlist. All right, we'll make sure we do that. And while we're bantering and speaking of all things LLM, see some dude got an LLM running on a Commodore 64 from 1982.
I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed.
But the output that it gave you was, it's hallucinating if it thinks that that's even remotely logical. So it's pretty basic sort of LLM where it doesn't have a huge model. It's only got, I think, 260,000 tiny stories in the model that it says it's based on Llama 2.
Well, you've got to cram a lot into that 640K.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, no, it needs at least 2 meg of memory.
There's an expansion cartridge you can get.
Card.
Yeah, the memory card,
Yep, because otherwise it just can't run because you can't load much in 64K of memory because you don't even get 64K of memory.
No, you don't. There's about 20K dedicated to ROM,
Yeah, I think you end up with 49.5K remaining.
Yep.
And G's Coders did a lot with 49.5K back in the day.
Oh, yeah, you could fit a lot in there.
Yep.
But it's still bloody impressive, though.
It is really impressive. Yeah. It's not a chat model per se. It's not like Gemini like we know it, where you can just sort of talk to it and it's fine. This is you need to give it a prompt and it'll try and complete that. And the prompt they gave it was, there was and it came back was, there was a big car who lived in a big tree. The car was being a little girl named Lily. She had a car with a big ball and she wanted to play with it. She went to the park.
So it's like a 3-year-old, telling you a story. But on a 42-year-old computer, I think that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, definitely. 40, no, it's older than that. 80, 81? 81 or 82?
82.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. It's 40-something years old.
Yeah.
Computers were a heck of a lot slower back then.
They were 1 megahertz, yep.
My LLM's from 19-2.
And you think that it was like 1,000 times more powerful than what sent man to the moon in 1969.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get an LLM running on the
Apollo
lander module,
AGC,
the guidance computer. Yeah, I'll be impressed when I see that. And another little OMG I had when I was reading the articles last night is this thing about turning on the power plants in Spain and Portugal.
Yeah, so we saw, I think last week, they had their massive, like a 10-hour power outage. The whole country's offline. I'm quite interested in sort of like power policy and things in general. And so when this came up and it was sort of talking about these black start, like a black start outage and the requirement for black start power plants, I was like, what is this?
It's not straightforward. That's what it is.
No, it's not.
So I watch a bloke on YouTube by the name of Chris Bowden, and he runs some power plants over in the US, some hydroelectric ones. And they've got to obviously shut them down every now and then to maintain the gates and all that sort of stuff that run the hydro. And
clean the algae and fish guts.
Clean them all out and clean all the mud out of behind the lift gate and all that sort of stuff. And he actually ran through in one of the videos that he did on actually restarting the power plant, because it's not like you and I look at it and go, it's a power plant. You turn it on and it makes power and we're good. Yeah. But that's 100%.
Water flush goes through here, it makes thing go spin, and
it makes the spinnimer thing spin, and then the spinnimer thing makes the angry pixies, and we're sweet. But sadly, you can't just pump those angry pixies straight into the grid because they might not be phased correctly. They might not be at the right voltage, at the right frequency. So this whole startup process is you've got to get the voltage right first, and then the frequency's got to be tuned right, and then you've got to get the phase right. And once the phase is right, then you can hook it into the grid.
Yep.
And that takes a lot.
Yeah.
And combine that with the fact that a coal-fired plant needs power to run.
Yeah, but same with hydro, right? If the hydro plant was down, now if the water's flowing and everything's spinning, it's going to keep going. But if you're in a maintenance situation and the gates are closed, but then there's no power, you can't open the gate.
Yeah, well, so the ones in the US, especially the ones that I watch on this channel, they do have a manual override on it, so you can actually go out there and wind the gate manually with a big wheel. But it's
I'm pretty sure I've done that in a video game level.
But it's one of those really old school, you turn the crank handle a million times and it lifts the gate up a centimetre, and that's how they get the power into the power plant in order to power all the electrical stuff that controls everything.
Yeah, because that's the whole grid needs power to run. So obviously you've got all the computers, but a lot of the switching infrastructure, as Banky, as you said, like a coal plant, you need
conveyor belts and things.
It's not someone shoveling some coal into a boiler, right? But you got conveyors, you got things that pulverize the coal.
Because they spray the coal in. So in a coal-fired plant, they grind the coal up into a talc and they spray it into the furnace because it's the most efficient way of burning it.
Burns more efficiently, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of power required. And so, when you're in this black start situation, there's no power at all. So you need basically the smallest power plants in the grid are able to be started with diesel generation, right? So they have a diesel Jenny, which gives them enough power to sort of just get the computers fired up, get some of the switching infrastructure going, get the conveyors going. Once then the boilers are at temperature, it starts producing enough power that you then need to get to the other power plants.
You can't put it in the grid.
You can't put it in the grid. Right? Because as soon as that power goes in the grid, every single fridge and freezer and air conditioner and just everything that is thirsty for power is trying to come online and take that peak power right away.
Yeah. And then you never get another grid started up and you burn out the power plant and it's all over.
Yeah, and same goes for, this was the issue that they had in Spain and Portugal is it tripped out the interconnect, so they couldn't pull power from France. It was just a whole cascading failure. A big part of it is because they don't have enough battery. So this is a similar situation. Yeah. It's basically a very similar outage to what happened to South Australia
years ago
4 or 5 years ago.
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a bit back, right? So they had heaps of renewables in the grid. But if grid sort of drops out enough and you can't get peaking power plants, like gas power plants, into the grid quick enough, you end up in this situation. Batteries solve a lot of this because they can respond in milliseconds. So this is probably where Spain and Portugal have to go down this route now.
And I think that's probably an important call out for a lot of the old power plants would be non-battery backed. So you'd have this situation where, and I'm pretty sure we've got the same issue up here in Queensland, we've got gas-fired power plants, so we're burning LNG, and I would suspect that those power plants would require some sort of power in order to start if we were in a black start situation. And you can't do that without huge amounts of power because these power plants don't run on 240 volts like the rest of us do. The minimum that they'll run on is 415 and most of them are running on tens of thousands. So I think having batteries there in order to provide that black start capability in case things do go out is probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, and just in general, they smooth out the grid so much. Their response times, because a gas peaking plant, their response times can be about 15 minutes, which is a lot better than coal, because coal you kind of just doesn't scale that well. But the batteries, they can start feeding into the grid, within about 0.15 of a second. It's
just a touch quicker.
Yeah. So but anyway, I thought that was very interesting, and then that made me think then about like black starts for like your company infrastructure as well. Like if you've got the old situation, like I know Ian, you and I were talking yesterday about some like electronic smart locks for network cabinets, and like how cool that is, and you can have some that have like 2FA and authentication. It's like, but what if your DC was completely down? Right, and authentication is down, and you need to physically get into the racks, and the racks are locked.
Yeah, so I think, so because as I said, I think Fujitsu have had
there's like a key,
card reader.
As well.
I think there's a key, but it's hidden behind something.
Yeah.
But I know that on the initial ones that I've used, there was no key on them. It was literally a case of if you can't get into the rack, stiff, because.
Crowbar job.
If there's no power in a data center, you've got bigger problems than not being able to get into your rack that you have 3 servers in. The data center has got issues, and they need to probably resolve them pretty quick. So they'll be bringing in, if their generators aren't working for whatever reason, they'll be bringing in mobile generators to bring things back online and all sorts of things. So I don't think in a data center it's that much of an issue. But certainly the new ones these days, they've got a key hidden behind a little, I think, flick out of the way.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, and besides that, we might move on. New South Wales Police Force, besides the New South Wales Commissioner resigning, what's going on there?
Yeah, so they're one of their firewall admins has been sacked. Well, no, sorry. He was given the opportunity to resign or he was going to be sacked. That's
a good opportunity to take, right?
The reason behind this...
We mentioned this last fortnight,
didn't we? The reason behind this is he installed WeChat onto his work computer and was trying to sign into it. And that amounted to unapproved software. Unapproved software. And then he alleged that he hadn't seen a list of unapproved software and not been trained in the specific IT policies. And
that might be true.
Been unable to log into the WeChat.
There for 17 years.
That's true as well.
You've been there. He was there for like 15 years or something, wasn't he? How could you not know that WeChat is not an approved software?
And really, it's not. Is there a list of unapproved software? It's like, why are you installing random software onto your company infrastructure? Effectively,
he was using WeChat for remote troubleshooting, and I'm like, it's a chat software. How are you using that for remote troubleshooting?
Oh, and to talk to his family.
That was the troubleshooting. Like,
Dad.
So based solely on the commissioner Chris Muir wrote, based solely on installing WeChat on a work computer, the dismissal would have been unjust and harsh and likely unreasonable. But the firewall security admin's explanations in meetings and letters ultimately provided grounds for his dismissal. He was not a sworn officer of the police force, but it's abundantly clear that it's a position of trust in which he was employed. Even before there is consideration of the identity of the respondent, should have required him to be absolutely candid and honest in any dealings with his colleagues, which is true. You're a firewall's...
Right, so it sounds like it was a bit more of a, I didn't really know, as opposed to just like, oops, sorry about that. Wasn't thinking.
Yeah, it would have been better if he'd said, look, sorry, I screwed up.
Yeah. You can bet, though, that he's probably got some colleagues that are scrambling and uninstalling a lot of software from their laptops. You can bet. Look, he's not the only one. It's just caught my attention. Like, he wouldn't be the only one that's installed, things that are, unapproved, but it just happened to be WeChat, and I think, it's unfortunate that it was WeChat. You got caught on.
But again,
people are very sensitive with Chinese software of Chinese origin.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
All right, should we get on with the news items?
Let's do it.
All right, let's move on with the news items. And first news item for this week is a people movement. We have what's his name?
Jerry Dischler.
We have Google Cloud's president and workspace leader is leaving. Google Cloud president of application and leader of Google Workspace is heading for the door. This is an article on CRN. Jerry Dischler. I got that right. Dischler. Google's president of cloud applications and leader of Google's Workspace is moving. Been there for 17 years.
Yeah. Well, joined in 2005 as a VP of ads, platforms, and Google properties. So he's been around for a while.
Been around for a while. Doesn't know what he wants to do once he leaves.
So he hasn't unveiled a new position or anything like that. So watch this space. I'm sure in a few weeks' time or maybe a month's time, we might see his name pop up somewhere as, hey, the new head of.
Maybe he can head over to Open Office and make it good.
I think that might be past that.
Yeah, I know.
He was the spearhead of introducing all the AI tooling into the workspace toolset, which we can now take advantage of.
And I'd like to thank him for that because Gemini inside of Workspace and Sheets, like all of that stuff is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very clever the way they've integrated it all for sure. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that, and best of luck to whatever he chooses to do. And then, all right, moving on with some finance stories. Look, Q1 looking very strong for Google.
Oh, it is, isn't it? So, actually, I pulled up another CRN article, which was the Microsoft versus AWS versus Google Cloud earnings, and it paints a pretty damn impressive picture for Google. So AWS, they had a Q1 revenue of 29.3 billion. Slightly behind them is Microsoft on 26.8, and Google Cloud a little bit behind Microsoft on 12.3 billion. Now, that's up quite a bit, right? So their growth, year-on-year growth, is the exact opposite order. So Google Cloud's year-on-year growth is 28%, Microsoft 21%, AWS 17%. And the market share makes that growth even more impressive because you have a look at the market share, Q1 market share for all three. AWS is 29%, Microsoft 22%, and Google Cloud only has 12% of the market.
But you got more elbow room. The smaller you are, you can grow more. That's the thing. You've got these two fatsos, AWS and Microsoft. It's a bit hard for them to grow when they're already that large.
Are you fat shaming the behemoths?
Those thick kings over there.
Well, it was just descriptive enough, right?
And sideways to get through the door. Yeah, no, look, it's really impressive performance based on their market share versus their revenue and annual run rate. They're doing far better than any other cloud provider, and with a lot less. Yeah.
And to take a look at the numbers then, article from DigWatch, Google parent company Alphabet announced a $70 billion share buyback after posting first quarter profits that exceeded Wall Street forecasts. The company shares surged 4% hours after trading, boosting its market value by around $75 billion. So that was a nice little trick. And then Pinchai also highlighted strong engagement in Google search, particularly with AI-powered features. So this is the overview that we love to hate, attracting 1.5 billion monthly users.
I still find that AI overview is wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah, I still don't
especially if you're searching for, let's say, Terraform or something like that. It will give you something that is entirely incorrect.
Well, you saw the example that I called out where it's learnt from the first post of the Stack Overflow article, and it's some bro saying, I'd like a feature like this, and puts it in, and that's what the model's trained on, and it's not correct.
Pseudocode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does annoy me because it takes up so much of the actual results. And then you've got 3 or 4 sponsored results there, which I have ad blockers running on my network, so I can't click them anyway. So I've got to scroll 3/4 of the way down the page just to get to the first actual organic result.
Yes, that is annoying.
But, I mean, one thing that I did see that was also called out on your lovely list there, Ian, is that the operating income on Google Cloud is up significantly as well. Right, so up 900 million to 2.2 billion. So I mean, you and I, the three of us, we've been doing these podcasts for long enough. Back when Google was still losing money, every quarter on Google Cloud, and it hasn't been that for a couple of years now.
Yeah, so you've got to think their operating income last year about the same time would have been 1.3 or 1.4 billion. So that's a huge jump.
Yeah, even with the massive like infrastructure spend that they're doing. So yeah, kudos.
Yep. Kudos to Google.
Kudos. The only way is up, hey? The only way is
Definitely.
Up. All right. Well, that's a nice piece of news. Let's move on. Synology.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. What are they doing?
What's the opposite of kudos?
What's the opposite of kudos?
Maybe?
Now, Dave, you were shaking your fist at this article. Synology requires self-branded drives for some computer NAS systems.
Yeah, Synology, who doesn't make hard drives.
No. What's going on here?
They've done the bait and switch, haven't they? They've done the exact same thing as Redis did not that long ago, and then backflipped on, incidentally, just recently. They backflipped on that. But Synology have done exactly that. They're like, you can use any NAS-grade hard drive in our NASs. And now they're like, nah, you can only use our hard drives.
Yeah. So the new series... Synology also has like an enterprise storage.
That's the IX systems?
I don't know anyone who deploys them.
No,
but,
that's the IX systems ones, I think.
No, IX systems is a separate... Weren't they True NAS's physical products?
Don't know.
But they do have a Synology enterprise range, and those have required their particular hard drives for a while. Now that tends to happen in enterprise space, especially anyone who's ever used like hyperconverged infrastructure. They get pretty antsy about the HCI and which firmware versions and things are on. But in the consumer space, this is pretty tetchy.
No, it's dumb because it means that lots of people won't buy these NASs if they know this, because they are expensive disks and they have a long lead time.
Yeah, and like Synology in general, like they're no longer like an innovative leader in the market, right? Like they've kind of coasted on making pretty nice hardware, as in like reliable hardware. And DSM was a pretty good NAS operating system.
Yep.
But I don't know. I've run QNAPs for a few years. I've tried, open source NAS file systems. I've used TrueNAS for a while. I've ordered, I'm going to be pre-ordering one of the new minis from NASs soon, so I can run kind of anything on it. I don't see any reason why you would stay with Synology.
Well, and the other side of this is it's not just they're coasting a little bit. It's more they've made a change, like an enterprise level change. And this is what you expect from enterprise. If you're running an enterprise grade SAN or NAS or any sort of storage array, you expect that it uses only a certain types of disks, because the vendor has to guarantee those disks, and if they fail, then all the disks in the SAN need to be at the same firmware level and all that sort of stuff to have the same features. But what Synology is doing here is going, well, and it's not an enterprise grade. This is a basic NAS. It doesn't do any fancy stuff like your direct attached storage or anything like that. This is just a network share. And they're saying, unless you buy our specific NASs, which to me look like Seagate Iron Wolf drives with a different sticker on them, and basically and a different firmware on the drive, which is what the software inside of Synology's system will detect, we're going to remove a whole heap of features. And those features are really quite astounding, because there's another article there on Serve the Home that talks about what they're removing from the software if it doesn't detect a Synology drive. It's like there's a whole heap of replication stuff, and it's
a full disk dedupe.
It does a whole heap of stuff. Like it just negates it completely. It's like this isn't available because you don't have Synology drives. And when you look at the lead times on these things, so the Serve the Home article has lead times for like the top 5 drives, or the top 4 drives plus the Synology one. So Synology has an estimated delivery date of between 6th and 28th of May. This is on the 18th of April. This article was written. So that's like a month to get a disk. So you can imagine
that'd be in the US.
Yeah, that's the US. Yeah. So this is obviously in the US. But you think about how long that is if you've got a drive failure, because you're not buying these drives in advance of having a drive failure. You're buying them because you're like, oh crap, the NAS has spat a drive
now.
So I need to get one now to put it in and rebuild the array, because if I lose one more, we're gone. We don't have any data. The data is now disappeared. Whereas you can buy a Seagate Iron Wolf drive, like the same 16 terabyte drive that the Synology drives look, and that's available same day.
Get it on Amazon next day shipping.
Same day shipping for roughly the same money. So
the article does say there is a way around it though. If you're using an unsupported air quotes hard drive with an already existing NAS, Synology NAS, you can migrate it to a Plus model and it will continue to work. Ooh. So that might be a way around. If you have an older Synology, you set it up and use it in there, and then migrate it across to the new box, and bang, you can continue to work with all the features.
Still a pretty hacky way of having to do it, right?
Pretty hacky way of having to do it, and that's not what you want. Like I think I've told the story with my Synology NAS here. When the actual box died, I had an 8 bay Synology, which I bought secondhand, and it died, and I was able to buy a 6 bay and just I was only using 6 drives, fortunately, and take them out and just slap them into the 6 bay, and it just immediately detected it, converted it, and then I was up and running, but took about 15 minutes to get it up and running. That's what you pay for, right? For it to work like that.
And you're right, IX Systems is true NAS. Yeah.
There we go. Just digging out of memory on that one.
Yeah, I happened to actually read it, so the Serve the Home article has it in there. Is QNAP and IX Systems true NAS. There you go. That's crazy. I wonder how long it's going to take them before they backflip on that, because people just go, well, we're not buying your NAS anymore.
We're not going to buy Synology. No. For home NAS, that doesn't make sense. Really,
no,
doesn't
not at all.
Sense.
Yeah, plenty of alternative options now,
and there's so many better options. Like you've got to have a look at TrueNAS. It's a fantastic bit of software. The QNAPs are awesome as well, or you can just build your own. Like if you're a home user, you're not worried about enterprise features, and lots of the open source ones have enterprise features built into them, but you're not worried about the support of hardware and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, look, I mean, the off-the-shelf NASs are a lot more friendly when it comes to like simple things like changing a disk. roll your own NAS. Sometimes you're getting in and you're typing in MDA commands or ZFS commands, depending on what you're using, and it can get a bit janky. Maybe for Soho, it's probably better that you can just pull a disk out and swap it in.
But for that, I'd be looking at a QNAP or an IX Systems NAS or something like that doesn't have this sort of vendor lock-in.
Yeah, agreed.
Because you can imagine how long it'd take to get a QNAP disk, a Synology disk over here.
Yeah, that's right. And certainly not going to be a stocked item.
And you can imagine you've got a small business that relies on having their data available and not having, like most small businesses don't have offsite backups. And then all of a sudden they lose a disk and they got to wait 2 months to get a new one, and then they lose another disk.
Considering how easy it is to create one with a bucket, and in the cloud. I mean, geez, you put Duplicati on your laptop and bang, you can create a backup in about 5 minutes.
But as with all small businesses, it's one of those things where it's one of the things that doesn't get thought of until it's too late.
Until it's needed, yeah. All right, well, let's move on. Can Chrome be excised from Google? That's the question. Article here on LA Times. Only Google can run Chrome. Company browser chief tells judge. So this is the court case where they're trying to split up Google somehow, and the Justice Department has asked that Google be forced to sell its Chrome browser and share some of the data it collects to create its search results.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to take the pro-Google side here and say, no, I don't think that Google can just sell off Chrome and have it work the same way as it always has.
No.
Because
no
Google
way.
runs a whole heap of services in the back end that they rightly own, and therefore if they sell off Chrome, they can just shut those services down to Chrome browsers or make users of Chrome browsers pay for them.
Yeah, I mean, Google spends so much time and effort on rolling code into Chromium, which then flows into Brave and Edge and
Google has contributed more than 90% of the code for Chromium since 2015.
Yeah, so just
that
saying...
would go away.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can have a de-Googlified Chrome, which is, you can have the Microsoftified version in
Edge,
Edge, or you can have weird kind of crypto-y one in Brave.
Or you can just run Chromium, which is a de-Google version of Chrome. But I think, and I think we've touched on this before, I think that if Google is forced to sell off Chrome, they will fork Chromium, close source it, and make their own new browser, and
call it Schnoz Wallets or something, and then end up with a new browser like
Schnoz Wallets.
Yeah, and everyone will just start using that.
That's an awesome name. I want that name.
Well, it's actually a Simpsons joke, but
there you go. I don't watch
that sounds like a funny name. No, it's the one where the Australians are on it.
I would have called them Chuzwazzers.
Yeah, I would have called them Schnoz Wallets. That's a funny kind of name. I would have called it Schnoz Wallets or Chuz Wallets.
But yeah, I could see Google doing that in that they just fork Chromium, they close source it, and it because they own all that source code anyway.
Yep,
they can change the license on it if they so desire.
And it's open source, so you can fork it and do what you like with it anyway. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden a new browser comes out.
They'll do a whole BSL thing.
Sorry?
And everyone just starts using the new browser. But I hope the judge understands that. I really, really hope they do, because we're not going to end up in a better situation.
Well, see, the thing here is that there's there's a computer science professor at Harvard Uni who has testified in this thing that says the divestiture of Chrome is feasible from a technical perspective. It would be feasible to transfer ownership and not break too much. But is it really? Because Chrome relies on logging in with your Google profile. It ties everything back to Google. So all your bookmarks, all of your passwords, all of your history, it's all tied back to Google. That's stored on Google services. So divesting Chrome, and
I suppose technically technically it can, as long as they're like, okay, we don't own it, but we're still going to allow all of these integrations. Like, that's your technically available, capable of doing it, right? Like, we don't own it, but yes, it can still use all these back end systems.
What is that achieving?
But where's the incentive to do it?
Well, more so, what's it achieving? Like the point of this thing is to remove the monopoly that Google has over people's data, right? Because they have everything, right? And just selling off Chrome, but keeping all those back-end services there, isn't actually achieving that. All it's doing is selling off Chrome. Like, someone else owns Chrome. Who cares? Google then can let that run for 12 months while they build their own browser, get out of their non-compete agreement, and then chop all those services off and move over to the new browser.
Yeah. Start promoting their new browser on their search engine, and here we
do
go.
Something dodgy like Microsoft does, where if you connect to the service using a certain browser signature, then it crashes constantly, and
puts pop-ups to suggest to move to their browser.
But
Microsoft would never do that. Never.
Look, I just can't. This is a free market, right? This is what happens in a free market. I can't help think that Microsoft rested on their laurels on IE for far too long, and it never. Everyone wanted something else. They wanted something else for so long, and Chrome came along, and oh my God, it's got tabs. Yeah. That was the thing that did it, right? That's the thing that moved everyone over. And IE they wouldn't move. They wouldn't change.
But didn't Netscape have tabs? Like Netscape Navigator 4 had tabs, I'm sure. Well, I mean, it was clunky, but I mean, we're talking about the 90s. But it was, but you have a look at IE was horrendous. It was slow. It was clunky. If you were a software developer, you had to code very specific ways in order to make IE function correctly, because there's some really basic patterns that can make IE crash. So there used to be a website that you go to, and I don't know if it's still around. I'd have to look it up. But you could go to this website, and if you're using an IE browser, it will automatically crash the browser because it does this little trick in JavaScript that breaks it.
Right, I'm looking at some screenshots of Netscape Navigator 4.
Banky's had a glitch.
And I don't see tabs. I don't see tabs.
I'm sure it had tabs.
Nope. No, I don't recall it having tabs.
Yeah, Netscape 7 does. Netscape 7 did have tabs. There's an article here on one of the universities that says
Netscape 7
had tabs, yeah.
Right, not Netscape 4.
Sorry.
No. So there's a little comment here at the end of the article from Tabriz, who's their lead counsel, for Google's lead counsel, says, is he the lead counsel?
I thought Tabriz... Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. Parisa Tabriz, the browser's general manager, has made a little comment here at the end of this article. He says, we envisage a future of multiple agents where Chrome integrates deeply with Gemini as a primary agent, and one will prioritize and enable users to engage with multiple 3P agents on the web in both consumer and enterprise settings. Interesting. So you have a browser that's fully integrated with Gemini. I don't know. Where's that going to take you? What things could you do? How automated could things be?
That's exactly right. Like a browser that automatically knows that at this time of the morning you need to be on this meeting and opens up that Meet link automatically. Those possibilities.
Suddenly the agent's doing the work for you.
Those possibilities are well and truly within the purview of Gemini. And especially if Gemini is completely integrated into Chrome. And so you can imagine then what happens if the browser's sold and that's been implemented, that then goes away.
But could anyone else do this? Could Microsoft and OpenAI pull that little trick off?
Probably. but they'd need to change the source code to Chrome to do it.
Or do it via some sort of extension mechanism.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be as integrated as you would be if it was coded directly into the browser's source. Yeah, true. Like an extension has some capabilities, but it's sandboxed. Whereas,
although with Edge, they're building Edge from the Chromium source, right? And it becomes their browser. So there's nothing stopping them contributing to Chromium to add those features that they need.
No, that's right. But they'd never get into Chrome, though. And
it wouldn't go into Chrome,
remember that Google still controls Chrome or Chromium. So Google doesn't have to accept those pull requests. They can reject them and say, no, this isn't core functionality of a browser. So, and that's what you want. So, Chromium is to be a fully vanilla browser.
But no, I guess my point is, if they're building Edge, can't they just add their feature on to Chromium the same way Google adds a feature to Chrome?
100%. 100% they can.
Yeah. And what?
They just can't do it in the Chromium source. They've got to do it in their branch, the Edge source.
All right, well, we'll keep tracking that and see what happens. I mean, let's hope this is obviously a very, very deeply technical issue. Let's hope the judge understands how it all works. Yeah. Moving on, Nest, Google kills another suite of products, including the Nest Protect smoke alarm.
Yeah, this is sad. This is like Google pulling out of more devices. Now I have one of these Google Nest smoke alarms, and it was on my to-do list to go and replace all of the smoke alarms in the house. I was going to have them everywhere because they kind of talk to each other, and there's some nice features in it. And I guess that plan's getting shelved now.
Well, so it's crazy because they've dropped the Nest smoke and CO2 sensor. The alarm, and they've also dropped the Yale X lock thing.
Yep.
And so Google's now partnering with First Alert, which is owned by Resideo, to launch the First Alert smart smoke and carbon monoxide alarm. So in the US and Canada only later this year.
Mm-hmm.
And it can interconnect with existing Nest Protect devices via Google's Weave or Thread communication protocol. And it will connect with Google Home app over Wi-Fi to send alerts and notifications. So I've had a little bit of a look-see at this new replacement, and it looks fairly similar to the Nest alarm.
Yeah, so it's sort of like they're not going to take direct ownership of it anymore. They're going to use partner companies. So yeah, same with the door lock. Yep. I mean, I now expect that the Nest Home thermostat will probably end up going the same way. Yeah, I'm really hoping this means that they're not stepping away from like the home hubs.
Well, yeah, that would be.
It's a big part of my smart home environment.
Yeah, same here. Like I've even got a Pixel tab that has the Rest that becomes a hub when you put the tablet on the Rest, and it plays music and it does all sorts of stuff in the kitchen where you can, like, look at your recipes and set timers and stuff like that. It's fantastic.
Hasn't made it to the killed by Google list just yet.
It won't be long.
Won't be long.
So yeah, the new locks should be out soon as well. Again, only in the US, and the new smoke alarm should be out in the US soon.
Yeah,
I do want to get a smart door lock for the front door. That's
no.
That's no.
Don't get me started. Home automation.
Both shaking heads.
I don't. Like I'm all for home automation, but when it comes to locks, I want keys in barrels with anti-drill front on them, so that you can't stick a drill bit in them and drill it. So it's got a high tensile steel cover on it, because there has been users who have bypassed smart locks by hacking the Wi-Fi and telling the smart lock to unlock. And hacking Wi-Fi is not a hard thing to do.
I guess I come down on the thought of like, if somebody wants to get in, like, I've got Windows.
They'll get in anyway. They absolutely will get in. Yeah.
Like a rock is a lot easier.
I'd rather not give them the doorway to get in. I'd like them to be climbing through a window, because then at least when the dog bites them, they are an intruder and not just walking in.
Does your dog bite?
He's only bitten 2 people and drawn blood. He's on his last warning, so, you know.
Well, there you go. A couple more items added to the Kill by Google, but we'll move on here to some security news. Couple of malicious Go modules have been detected, along with a suite of other supply chain attacks. These latest Go modules article here from the Hacker News. Security researchers have discovered 3 malicious Go modules that include obfuscated code to fetch next-stage payloads that can irrevocably rewrite a Linux system's primary disk and render it unbootable. They're listed there. I'll link the article in the show notes. The modules are listed there. But basically, the payload just writes zeros to dev SDA. Kills your disk.
That's a bad thing, except for if dev SDA isn't your primary disk, which it isn't on my system because I've got an NVMe drive, so SDA doesn't exist. But and it doesn't on most of our servers either. Our VMware servers actually use a different scheme.
Yeah, but wouldn't be hard to determine the boot disk and just write to the boot disk no matter what it is.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it does come down to that this is just another win for containers, because if you had these faulty modules installed, it would just nuke the container and the container would fail all its tests.
Yep, that's exactly right.
You'd move on with your day. But if you're still treating servers as pets... Yeah. You don't want
this will be a very big problem. Incidentally, I did check the 3 packages that were listed there, which is Proto Transform, Go MCP, and TLS Proxy, and none of them still exist on GitHub. They're all pulled.
Right. They've all been removed. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, it shows where like supply chain attacks are still so scary.
Yeah, and that's right. Well, I mean, you remember the Python one back in, was it 2021? I think it was, where the Python supply chain. Or no, it wasn't. It was a node module that if you ran the JavaScript code in Russia, it used to wipe the machine. Did exactly the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it was one of these. It was when the Ukraine and Russian war first started, and one of these developers decided that he was heavily on the side of Ukraine, and that's fine, but he's brought.
I mean, there's also a lot of developers in Ukraine.
Right. And he brought that into his code. But I mean, there's been a heap of Python packages that are laced with malware as well. PyPy has a huge list of them.
Yep, and with very high download numbers as well.
So there's like Coffin 2022, Coffin Codes, Coffin Codes Net, Coffin Codes Net 2, Coffin Codes Pro, and Coffin Grave have all got more than 6,000 each. And CFC BSB, I don't even know what that does, has nearly 3,000 downloads. So, not small bickies, especially if they're doing something nasty like crypto on your servers.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of NPM packages were doing exactly that, looking for crypto wallets and cryptocurrency keys.
Yep.
So, yeah, this, I don't know, I want to say it seems to be getting more common, this supply chain attack issue. I remember when the first ones came out, it was a big deal, but it seems to be happening pretty regularly now, and they're finding them quite often.
Well, I suppose because so much of technology is built on, some random open source package maintained by one person, and hasn't been updated in 6 months, and and those then become good targets as well. So you're like, oh, well, if I can breach that guy's credentials, I can go and I can add my code into his GitHub, and then that all flows all the way upstream.
Well, it's even simpler than that in that you just need an overwhelmed repo admin, like a repository owner that just doesn't have time to fully review code or pull requests and just looks at it from you could be contributing to this code for 12 months and be putting really good code into it, and then all of a sudden you know that they're overwhelmed, so you put in a little bit of obfuscated code that does nasty stuff like those Go modules, and the lead developer is like, this dude's been contributing heaps of good code, so yeah, I'll just merge it.
This seems fine, yeah.
And that's as easy as it is to get in.
Another reason why it's nice to use the assured open source software from Google Cloud.
Oh, yes. And it's another good reason to use things like Snyk and the likes on your GitHub repos to actually detect this stuff and go, hey, this is bad. Mm-hmm. Don't let this through.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, having said that, let's do it. Let's get on with the AI Wars. AI Wars. And kicking off the AI Wars this fortnight, a news article I did not understand. I barely understood a word of it. Announcing new Vertex AI prediction dedicated endpoints. Like, I started reading this last night and just went, nah, too much. What's going on with this? Who put this in here?
So I put this in there, and look, I'm no AI expert.
It definitely wasn't me, because I'm like you, Banky.
Yeah. Look, I'm no AI expert either, but this is a new family of Vertex AI prediction endpoints designed to address the needs of modern AI apps, including those related with large-scale generative AI models. So it's a set of dedicated endpoints to create and train models, essentially.
Right.
There's specifically, so the article says here, they're specifically engineered to help you build more reliably with the following new integrated features. So native supporting for streaming inference. So you can stream video, you can stream text, you can stream images, all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff in. And it has Stream Raw Predict, which utilizes bidirectional streaming to send prompts and receive sequences of responses or tokens as they become available, and OpenAI chat completion, which is interesting. So Vertex now can facilitate interoperability and ease migration from OpenAI into Gemini or vice versa. Supports gRPC.
Why would you want? Yeah. I'm sure there's a use case for that, but I don't understand why you want to do that.
Let's assume that you want to move to Vertex AI, a Gemini model on Vertex AI, and you're currently using OpenAI. You don't want to completely rebuild all your code that calls out to the OpenAI endpoints. You can put it in Vertex AI, have it calling the OpenAI endpoints, which then this interpolates to a Gemini prompt.
I see.
So that's pretty cool use case. It supports gRPC protocol. You know, that's fairly standard for all of Google's stuff these days, because gRPC is the way of the future, or has been for years. Customizable request timeouts. So obviously large models require longer timeouts because you've got lots more data there. And optimized resource handling. So optimizing the CPU and GPU that you're utilizing under the hood to cost optimize things. So there you go. Super quick one on that.
Okay.
It's a cool little thing for all the AI nerds out there, and there's lots of them. This should hopefully appease.
And I know all you did was read the article just then, but I seem to understand it a lot more now.
I did, but I also did lots of other research yesterday, because I was like, I am not an AI nerd. I'm really not an AI nerd.
No.
And I really want to be, I really want to understand it. So I've got to try and read it from a whole heap of different places to make it click in my head.
Yeah. That's a blog on Google Cloud blog site. So I'll link that in the show notes, and you can go try it out for yourself. And then we have another blog from the Google Cloud blog site. Build live voice-driven agentic applications with Vertex AI Gemini Live API. So another AI API. What does this one do for us, Ian?
This again. So this allows you to create agentic industry apps, essentially. So this tutorial, it's sort of like a tutorial. It's a blog on a tutorial, essentially. Is a use case focused on industrial condition monitoring, specifically for motor maintenance. So spinning motors. And it says here in the article, the Live API enables low latency bidirectional voice and video interactions with Gemini. So with this, we can provide end users with the experience of natural human-like voice conversations and with the ability to interrupt the model's responses using voice commands. So the model can process text and audio and video import and all sorts of stuff and provide you with text and audio output. And this allows you to do stuff like you can go and, look at motors and the app can listen to them and it can watch the video of them running and do all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff and provide you with diagnostics or potential diagnostics. And it's, when you look at the block diagram of how it runs, it's actually not really all that complicated. It's like 4 or 5 different Cloud Run instances that feed data to and fro and a GCS bucket. So you've got like your user who has image and sound of motor gets pushed into a JavaScript front end. That's running on Cloud Run. That handles that audio and video and images and all that sort of stuff, and then pushes that to a back-end Cloud Run service that then dumps the stuff into a GCS bucket and then runs audio analysis and visual inspection on the image and then pumps that into Gemini to provide information based on a set of criteria. And then it provides you with a response. So it's actually pretty cool, and there's a full... in the solution at the bottom of the page, there's a link that says solution there. It takes you to the GitHub project where you can actually run this up and show it working itself. So it's an interesting concept to show actual use cases for running Gemini in something that you probably wouldn't think of using it for.
Reading this and thinking about the way this works, I can't help think of Star Trek.
Well,
right, you guys, it is literally that. I mean, how many times did you see Picard or Geordi or someone say, "Computer, generate me a reverse polarity biphase flanger," and suddenly they have that thing. This is it.
So
we're here.
So if you go to
Star
the
Trek.
GitHub repo for this, the README says, "Think Star Trek computer interaction. Speak naturally, use your webcam, share your screen, and get instant streamed audio responses."
That's it. We're there.
Yeah.
We're there.
We're at it. And this is a fantastic use case for this because you think of the number of scenarios where this could be used. Like this one's specific to motor maintenance because it's looking at images and listening to the sound of the motor running. But you could think of that in any type of industrial maintenance stuff.
Yeah, well, I know, like coming out of pharmaceutical manufacturing, they have extensive use of vision systems, like things with like moldings to have a look and see, like, okay, are these printing correctly? Were these molds being filled with the right amount of product? Is there crushed tablets? That sort of thing. They've been doing that kind of for years, but they're relatively simple systems. So this gives you a bit more natural interactivity with them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's...
I could imagine the mechanic, working on the car and he's got his phone there and the engine's running and he calls out to the phone, listen to the motor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that knock.
And look at the video.
Yeah, it does it because mechanics will listen and I'll try and detect it. But having an AI do that, what problems can you hear here? And the AI calls back, oh yeah, it sounds like the timing is out, or there's a knock, or there's a hole in the muffler or something, and it can just tell you straight away.
You could imagine this as a use case where there's a constant feed, like in a manufacturing plant, for instance, where there's lots of machinery and lots of noise, and instead of waiting for the plant to break down, you could have this videoing and listening to all the different machines within the plant and detecting when, let's say, a bearing's about to fail or
something's not lubricated.
Something is starting to break down, and the AI goes, there's a problem with this machine. This is what I think it is. You need to go and inspect it.
The machine that goes ping just went pong?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, literally. A bearing starting to squeal and you've got earmuffs on so you can't hear it, but the AI can.
Very clever.
Yeah.
Very clever. I have to say, one of my little side hustles, well, not so much a side hustle, side hobby is obviously audio and sound is one of the things I do. And the AI is strong. The number of audio processing tools and auto EQ and auto this and auto compressors and smart this and smart that is coming out. It's the floodgates have opened, and AI is processing everything at the moment. It's yeah.
I think every time I've looked at all of the audio processing stuff, I've loved the fact that pretty much every plugin starts with auto. It must be a catch cry of the sound industry, is like, we need to put auto in this or people won't take it seriously.
Auto, yeah. Waves have got AQ, auto EQ,
auto tune,
just come out. So yeah, I mean, geez, you can create a whole song now with AI, right? There's more than just sort of the mixing component of it, but
and that was one of the things everywhere. That was one of the things that Gemini released at Next, was their ability to actually create a music video using 2 or 3 of their APIs based on write me a country song about X, and it will create you a country song with music and video, and it's phenomenal.
Well, speaking of cool AI enhancements, Gemini is adding a GitHub app for coders, and I went just before we went to air. I started recording. I went and checked my Gemini, and sure enough, it is there now. So, what this feature is, you can add a GitHub repo as part of your context for a prompt, like a URL to a GitHub repo. And it'll give you code suggestions based on that context. Now, to get to it, you have to go to your Gemini apps page, and there'll be a switch there, and you can enable that. And then when you go to create a Gemini prompt, when you click the plus symbol, there will now be a new feature, which is to add a GitHub repo. Very cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not there for me in my business one yet. I had to go into the admin portal and switch on to allow like beta apps. But right now, it doesn't show for me yet.
I literally only just discovered. I knew it was coming because we had the article here, which I'll link in the show notes. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. There are some limitations though. Limitations of the integration include retrieve community history, pull requests or other metadata, read a repository by including GitHub URL directly in your prompt, write to a code repository. So, there's some limitations there around those. And importing is only available on Gemini.com.au. You can continue that chat in Gemini mobile app and Gemini web app on your mobile devices. So once you import it and you start the chat, then you can go to your other devices and continue it from there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So some examples that they use, you might want to ask what external libraries are used in the attached code. Cool. Maybe you want to say are there any supply chain, is this affected by any supply chain attacks?
Yeah, what security vulnerabilities does this code have?
Yeah, nice, yeah. How can the attached code be more efficient? Write event handlers for the attached code to recommend products to users.
I think more from replacing something like a SNCC or Git Guardian or something like that. You could literally ask Gemini to look at the repo and advise where the vulnerabilities are within that repo. Like where are the vulnerabilities in this code and how do we fix them? Because it could quite well have a lot of vulnerabilities in a just a basic code base, especially one that you've just bashed out initially.
A big code base, of course, yeah.
And as code bases get bigger, they become harder to handle and harder to really analyze the security context around requests. So yeah, I think that might be a really good use case for it.
All right, well, look, that's a little fun one, and I'm sure it'll be available to everyone very soon. But look, on that note, let's wrap this show up. It's been fun talking to you guys. Don't forget, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Music. Go to Apple Podcasts, write us a review. Go to YouTube, start the discussion there. And while you're there, smash that like button. That'll really help the show out. You can contact the show, contact@gcbbytes.com.au. Find us on the web, www.gcbbytes.com.au. And, of course, today's sponsor is Hive-Tech Solutions and Mantle Group. That's about it from us. You guys got anything else to add besides from the shivering in the freezing room?
I'm sitting here, nose is running, I'm sneezing. You're going to have to edit a couple of my sneezes out.
You got to move north, mate. Come up to the north side.
I'm still sitting
I couldn't
here in
even find
shorts
my
and a
beanie
t-shirt.
this morning.
Shorts and a t-shirt. That's all you're wearing, Queensland.
That's all you do. Yeah, that's right. Excellent, guys. Look, it's been fun. We'll talk to you next fortnight. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome.
G'day, how you doing, mate?
Hang on, mate.
How's it going?
Very good, mate. Okay. How do we do this again? That's right.
Yep. Been away so long he doesn't remember.
Hey, I was here last week.